This is Horsepower Heritage. I'm Maurice Merrick. Thanks for joining me again. Happy New Year. And for the first episode of 2026, it's my conversation with Elana Scherr. Elana is the senior features editor at Car and Driver magazine. And I have to say that I don't think we've ever covered as many different cars in a single episode than we did in this one. Elana kind of likes them all, and she's got a broad knowledge base, so we had a great time comparing notes, and it was a delight to sit down with her and discuss everything from used Bentleys to rebuilding a Hemi V8 in your living room. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Elana Scherr. Enjoy.
That's where you want to start? Okay, it's actually really easy. I do think in general, people tend to get into cars from someone. Traditionally that's family, but it doesn't have to be. I got my driver's license really late, and when I went to buy a car, I'd already moved out of my parents' house, and my neighbor was like, I'll help you buy a car. And so we went and test drove cars and stuff, and he was into Chrysler products. So I bought a Plymouth Duster. And then because I had the Plymouth Duster, I met a lot of other MoPar people, and I liked them, and they helped me learn more about cars. So I already had this community of MoPar people. And then when I met my now husband, he liked MoPars. So it sort of just grew naturally out of basically planting one kind of seed, and then you get a lot of that kind of plant. I have expanded since then, but I like the products. I like that muscle car era, MoPar in particular. And so even though I'm interested in other cars now, I still have like a lot of affection for a Challenger, a Cuda Charger. Yeah.
Did you and Tom meet as a result of cars, particularly MoPars?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like so much that you're going to accuse me of inventing this story for like a car-themed romance. Yeah, I had met him at the Friday night Bob's Big Boy car meet. We'd talked. I didn't know him very well. I just noticed that, the other guys would turn to him if they had some sort of big technical question.
Just for people who don't know, Bob's Big Boy in Toluca Lake has been a Friday night tradition for many, many years. And you'll see all kinds of cars turn out for that. So the restaurant was built in, I think, 49.
Yeah, it's been there a long time, and it was a big, it was a big chain, and there aren't too many of them left, but there is still the Toluca Lake Bob's Big Boy, and they have a Friday night car meet. And it was close to where I lived. I lived in Hollywood, so I'd go over. And so I had met him there, but I didn't know him super well. And I was starting a new project. I had a 72 Challenger, and I'd bought an engine for it. It was a 6-cylinder car. I wanted to put a V8 in it. And I'd bought a 440. I'd taken it apart. It was on a run stand, or not a run stand, but like an engine stand in my living room. I'd bought new components. I thought I could just put it together. Like, the book looked real easy. And then when I actually had all of these physical parts in the real world in front of me, and I was like, this does not look like the exploded diagram. And so I asked a friend of mine, is there someone who can help me with this engine? He's like, yeah, you should talk to that guy, Tom, that you've met. That's what he does for work, is engine building. And in hindsight, I should have offered him money. Like, in general, good tip here. If you want someone to use their skills to help you, you should consider paying them. But I was very young. I was maybe 23, and I was doing this all for fun, and I just assumed everyone was doing it for fun. So I asked him, I was like, I got this engine. Do you want to come over on the weekend? And me and my neighbor, we were going to put it together, and we could use some help. And he said he almost said no. And then he was like, yeah, I'll do it, So we put the engine together, and then maybe about a week later, he asked me out. And now we're married, and we have so many engines.
And we're sitting here with your 3 dogs, who are awesome dogs. A lot of people do dog rescue. You guys do car rescue.
Yeah, we do both. We do both. The big dog came from a hound dog rescue in West Virginia. They sent him on a plane as a puppy, but I know he's a good boy. But yeah, we absolutely do car rescue. I have a Opel GT, and when we were shopping for Opel GTs, it's a little tiny car for people who don't know them very well. It looks like a little C3 Corvette, like a little 70s Corvette. And they have really cool headlights that rotate sort of horizontally. And a lot of times, if you're shopping for them, there's a bunch of them that are in terrible shape. I have this theory about small cars that a lot of times they really get wrecked because they're so small, people just shove them behind a garage and forget about them, and nobody makes them sell them, so they just rot there. Whereas like a big car, you have to sell sooner because there's nowhere to hide it.
There's that, plus there's the disappearance of those brands in the U.S. Like, so in that same category with the Opel, I would put like the Fiat X19.
Which I also want.
Triumph, TR7, things like that. They just become unloved. They couldn't get parts for them, and people just kind of let them rot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you see that a lot with these small weird brands. And so with the Opel, when we were shopping for one, you'd see them and they would be in some field, and their little headlight was missing, like a little missing eye. And I used to stand over Tom's shoulder. We were looking through, Facebook Marketplace or whatever, and I'd sing that like "Arms of the Angel" song, that Sarah McLachlan song that they always play over the Humane Society commercial with like the sad one-eyed dog. So it really does feel like that sometimes when you're shopping for a car and you see them all out there needing a home.
I'm hearing that song in my head now.
In the arms of the angels.
I just thought of another car in that same category. Lancia Scorpion.
Yeah, same thing. These little guys, they just, I can't say that I've ever seen a Lancia in that condition because there aren't very many of them. But I bet that the reason that there aren't very many of them is because they all are stuck behind somebody's barn.
Hey guys, I want to take a quick break to say if you enjoy Horsepower Heritage, there are a few ways you can support the show. Go to buymeacoffee.com/HP Heritage and become a patron. There's a link in the show notes. You can make a one-time donation or you can support the show monthly. It's easy, and for the price of a latte, you can help me continue to bring you more of the people and stories behind the machines. You can also leave 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify because that helps new listeners discover the show. Thanks for your support, and now back to the show.
Okay, I believe that it is 17 currently. I haven't done the count in a few months, and I swear they just sort of sometimes there's a new one, or like I forgot one the last time I did a count, but I believe it's 17. At one point it was 21, and both Tom and I were like, this is too many. I can't handle this.
So, like, who brings more cars on, you or Tom, or is it a group effort?
Well,
Collaboration?
it is a collaboration because here's how it works. I will learn about a car, say an Opel GT or a Jensen Interceptor, or a Bentley, or I'll decide we need something from the teens, some pre-war thing. And so I'll come home and we'll be talking and we'll have dinner and I'll be like, yeah, like, look at this. This guy's selling a 1916 touring car and it's pretty cheap and I think it'd be kind of cool to have one or whatever. And Tom will be like, yeah, that would be cool. You should call in. And then I'll forget, or I'll get distracted, or I'll have some other project come up. But Tom will not forget. And he will then go online and find a really nice example and encourage that purchase. So there are quite a few cars where technically Tom purchased them, but it was my fault for bringing up the idea of getting one.
Well, I love that because, I think a lot of people will know where I'm coming from with this. It can be a little bit sensitive to announce that you're interested in a certain car and maybe you're thinking about buying one, or maybe you just bring one home without permission. I'm guilty of it, and I do feel bad sometimes. So it's great that you guys are of one mind.
Yes, it's good for our relationship. It's probably better financially and yard space wise if you have a partner who's a little less encouraging.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain point where it becomes a codependent thing.
I mean, I feel like we have things under control right now, but you can check back with me in 6 months and see what's going on.
So I think if someone said, how do I become an automotive journalist? They wouldn't look to you as the role model because it's unlikely where you ended up, right? I mean, and you said that you got your driver's license relatively late. What, like
21.
21? Okay.
Yeah. I could drink before I could drive.
Wow. So how did it all come together? Because you've been a car driver for a little while now, but there's a lot of steps in between. You were an art student, right?
Yeah, I went to art school. I was planning on, a gallery artist career, as everyone who goes to art school is hoping to have. And I did reasonably well right out of school in terms of, being able to make work and having, some action in some places where I could show. But it was pretty clear to me very quickly that this was not going to be a well-paying gig, and also completely dependent on sort of the whims of the day. It's a hard thing to be a famous artist. And I just wasn't dedicated enough for it. And so I'd started doing other things. I was working for some professional artists. So I was getting a lot of skills like mold making and, I was doing sort of mechanical work in the process of making these big sculptures for an artist. And so I was able to take that skill set and then get a job working in motorcycle carbon fiber. At this point, I was interested in racing, and so it wasn't a completely crazy thing to be doing. And I was doing carbon fiber fabrication for a while. It's a hard physical job to work with composites, especially then. It was very messy, and we didn't really it was a small shop. It wasn't like we were working in sort of like a NASA clean room. And I got tired of pulling splinters out of my arms and stuff. So I started looking for something related, and I had already been doing sort of light PR for the shop that I was working at. And so my next step was I got a job at a PR agency that repped automotive aftermarket. So I was doing PR, and as I'm doing PR, I'm meeting all of these journalists, right? Because I'm talking to people who work for the magazines. And I was like, this is a much cooler job than the one that I'm doing. And I had in the back of my mind already wanted to do that for years because I was very into car magazines when I was first learning about cars and learning how to work on cars. And I thought even back then that this would be a really fun thing to do. I had photography skills, I had writing skills from school, and I kept sort of trying to get a magazine job, but I had no idea how to do it. It was just, websites were a thing, but it wasn't that easy to contact people. And it wasn't like there were advertisements for come write for CarCraft or whatever. And so I didn't know even how to approach it. And then because of working in PR, I made all of these contacts at the magazine. So I found out that there was an available position at Hot Rod magazine, and I sort of like girded my loins and went down and I was like, hey, do you think I could apply? Is that weird? Do I have to have like some sort of degree in journalism? And they were like, no, you should apply. And I got the job, and it was like life-changing.
What was the process? Did they ask for sample writing?
Yeah, they asked for some sample writing, and I did have some because of ghostwriting for PR. And I also, at the time, everybody had a little blog. So I had a little blog, and I was able to send those over as well. And then I don't think that they had me do any kind of edit test or anything like that. I think some places have you do a test, but I think it was just the samples. And then I joke that the real test was that I went down to talk to the editor in chief, who at the time was David Freiberger, who later went on to start the Roadkill brand. And, I showed up in a Challenger, and then he was looking at old racing photos, and he was sort of like, "Oh, do you know who that is? Do you know what car that is?" And so I don't think that was officially part of the interview, but I sort of feel like maybe I passed a test there.
No doubt about it. And I mean, that's the advantage of having been in Los Angeles, right? Like you could go to the offices of Hot Rod and do a face-to-face versus if you're
Speaking of a face-to-face, I would like to paint a picture right now for your listeners, which is that a small red dachshund has climbed up your chest and is currently examining your mustache in a way that's really rudely intimate. Stan, you should come over here. Oh, he would do it if that's what you want. Right. That's sort of always been the thing with both New York and Los Angeles, and maybe Michigan for car riding, is like you come like a Hollywood starlet to try and find your dreams.
What was it like working for Freiberger? Because we all know him from YouTube and, of course, television, but he's as grassroots a car guy as I think you'll find.
Yeah, he was really an amazing example for me. He takes his job very seriously. He took accuracy very seriously. I mean, he would really be upset if we had a mistake in the magazine about history or a spec or something like that. And he also just really had a vision of where the culture could go, often before other people realized it. I mean, he was always kind of chasing, like an underground trend in car culture. And so it really made him ahead of people when it came to writing about unusual kinds of racing or new events or like a different way of building cars. He was always really on top of it. And I thought that was really impressive, and I've sort of tried to integrate it into my own practice.
Absolutely. And the insistence on accuracy is a big deal. I mean, I got to tell you, it pains me if I make a mistake on the podcast. And sometimes it's just about you're having a chat and you don't necessarily recall something exactly correctly. And I'm not going to stop to look something up.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I won't do that. But it's important. People trust what you're writing or what you're talking about. And you want them to trust you. It's about credibility, right? So I get that. So how long were you at Hot Rod?
Let's see. I think I was at Hot Rod for 4 years, and then I worked with David and Finnegan at Roadkill for 2 or 3 years. And then I was freelance for 3 years, like through the beginning of the pandemic, which was actually a pretty good time to be freelance because I could travel when a lot of corporate writers couldn't travel. So I was able to get a lot of work done. And then I got the car and driver job, I think, in the end of 2020.
Okay. Roadkill, by the way, I used the word grassroots earlier to describe Freiberger's kind of ethos. First of all, it's super all-American. Right?
It's so much.
I mean, in terms of the automotive scene. But just the backyard guy who's trying to put a car together, doesn't have a lot of disposable income, but wants fun and performance, and Roadkill just hit. It was awesome.
I think that, all of those things that you just said, but also I think that the car scene had gotten so humorless, with numbers matching obsessions in muscle cars and sort of these super, super high dollar custom hot rod builds that never went anywhere or did anything, and it was all about like, are the screws lined up correctly, and not about, are the screws tightened correctly. And I think that Roadkill kind of brought a sense of humor back to working on cars.
It's a reality check on that.
Yeah, and made it also just seem doable to a younger group who maybe didn't have the uncles or moms or family connection to start wrenching, and so all they were seeing in the magazines were these sort of perfect, extremely high dollar builds, and there was no entry point for them. And so I think what David and Mike gave permission to do was buy something that wasn't perfect, get it running well enough, and then have a really good time with it, which people kind of needed a reminder that you can do. You can still do.
Yes, and the other thing about it was you didn't have to have a 69 Charger. If you had kind of a clean Ford Fairmont that you wanted a hot rod, that was okay.
Totally. I mean, you're dead on right. And I had kind of forgotten about that because it's so different now. But yeah, there was a time period where there were like 6 cars that were considered cool. And if you didn't have one of them, people wouldn't let you in the club, like if you tried to show up in a, 4-door Satellite, the guy with the Roadrunner wouldn't talk to you. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think people are far more excited about station wagons and 4-doors and unusual brands, AMCs and Buicks and things that maybe were overlooked previously.
Definitely. A lot of cars kind of got a second life, I think, because of that whole scene. Cars that, like we were talking about earlier with the Opel and the others, that kind of were sitting in somebody's backyard for years and unloved. And people saw what Freiberger and Finnegan were doing over there and like, hey, I can do this too.
Yeah. And I mean, I want to give them credit for really bringing it to the forefront. They weren't the only people during that time period who were interested in doing that. There were even people in other countries who were kind of doing similar things. There's the Mighty Car Mods guys in Australia were kind of doing these weird builds of cars that were popular over there. And there were other folks who were also kind of thinking along the same line. But I do think that David and Mike, they did it really well. They were really fun to watch. And also they had the backing and the outlet to really reach this giant audience. I mean, I really think they changed the scene in a positive way.
100%. It was a phenomenon for sure. And they're both still doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right, so that's where you cut your teeth, at hot rod and road tilt. And then how did you get to car and driver?
Well, freelance was a really good learning experience. I'd been so lucky to just jump right into a major magazine, and so I'd always sort of had this little cradle around me, this very supportive group. And freelance is the cold, hard world, man. You really have to cut your ego down because you're working with editors who've never met you before and they don't know that you can do what you're doing. So you have to learn how to pitch and clean up a pitch and deliver on time, deliver on word count. There's no guarantee that there will be a good copy editor. So you really have to make sure that what you've done is correct and reads well. And I mean, I enjoyed it because I got to do a lot of interesting stories, including a few that were not car related. I was able to write for the Smithsonian magazine, which was very, very cool. I still get to occasionally. I was very grateful when Car and Driver asked me if I would be interested in doing a column. And then that column quickly turned into a full-time job, which was fantastic because it's really nice to have a steady team to work with. Freelance is very lonely.
Well, plus, you're not necessarily going to love or even like very much whatever the story topic might be. Like you might be doing some very pedestrian stuff, right?
Yeah, I was lucky during my freelance career that I was able to do a lot of stories that were very interesting. I didn't have to do too much of the, kind of repetitive newsy stuff or sort of review stuff. But when you're at an actual magazine and it has a voice, it just makes it so much. It makes it so much easier to write something imaginative or to ask for help from one of your teammates if there's something that you want to learn more about. And I think for me, it's a much better writing experience. I know people who love freelancing. They like the freedom of it. They like never having to be in a meeting. And I get that,
And I think you're talking about institutional culture and direction and sort of cohesion, right?
Yeah, it is. I think it's, I sound like a cheerleader, but you're like, go team.
Okay, so 5 years, you're into your 6th year now at Car and Driver.
How?
Senior editor of features.
Right.
And for people who don't, we all read magazines, but what does features mean exactly?
Well, it's a pretty loose description these days because all of us do everything. In the old days of magazines, the feature editor would be the one that would maybe go out on the town and do sort of a weirder story or a profile of a celebrity or something like that. Whereas, say, like a reviews editor would focus more on just driving cars and reporting on them. These days, it all gets mixed up. So I'll do reviews, I'll do news, I'll do small web stories, and then I do still occasionally get to do a big feature, which is how we met.
Exactly. On the Baja trip, your article about the Baja trip will be coming out very shortly.
Yes, I have a deadline on it, so I've been working on it, and it's going to be hard to pare it down to short enough amount of pages to get it in the magazine, but that's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. There's so much to cover. And it was a long trip. There were so many people, awesome vehicles, things that we saw, things that happened. So I'm really looking forward to it. And when I think of a feature in a car magazine, I think of something like 5-day road trip exploring America's roadside attractions in a Rolls-Royce Phantom.
Yeah, that's a good feature. We should do that. Yeah, I mean, if you think of, Car and Driver, as an example, like if you think of Car and Driver's sort of famous features, there was one where they took a bunch of cars, I think in the 80s, down to Mexico, and it's a hilarious story. It's like Jean Lindemund, I think she was Jean Jennings at the time, and maybe John Phillips. I can't remember who else was on it. And then, they did another one, I think, where they took a Corvette into Alaska. Very, very famously, they matched up a Ferrari GTO against a Pontiac GTO. Those are feature stories because they're a little quirkier. They have, a lot of cool photographs and a lot of personality in them.
And often tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've got to write some pretty cool ones already for Car and Driver. I did one a couple of years ago where, do you know what slugging is?
No.
Slugging is a term for a kind of grassroots community carpool, specifically based around the DC area, although there have been attempts to do it in some other cities, where because so many people work at the same few buildings in a relatively compact downtown, they have these carpool setups where if you're going down there and you need to use the carpool lane because their express lane is very expensive, you can just pick up someone at a set point who's going to the same place, and they ride with you and you use the express lane, and then you drop them off and you might never see them again. There's no money involved. There's no conversation involved. Like, they know where you're going, you know where they're going, and you just hop in their car. So I was fascinated by that, and so we went to DC with a Toyota Crown, and we tried to track down the slugging, and it was actually quite difficult because this was, again, pretty recently post-pandemic, and the slug lines, as they're called, had basically disappeared during the pandemic for the obvious reasons. And so I had to do almost like real investigation, and like cold call people, and it was really fun. And I think that's probably one of the better features that I've done for Car and Driver.
Oh, that's really clever. And a Toyota Crown is an interesting choice, right? Because people are not familiar with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird choice.
Did it have the doilies on the
No, I wish it did, but those are so cool. I'll have to show you when we're done with this podcast. My friend just gave me a magazine from Japan for accessories, and it has those in it.
Okay, perfect. Just as an aside, I love Japan and the car culture there. Everything, even the mundane stuff, the seemingly mundane stuff is interesting there. And the taxis are one example. Drivers in uniform with white gloves, doilies on the headrests. It's awesome.
Yeah, Japan is fantastic. And again, speaking of features, I did do a feature where I went to Japan and I ended up meeting up with these guys who, don't laugh, drive MoPars. They all have 6-pack 440 e-bodies and they cruise around in Tokyo. And they took me out with them for the night, and it felt like I was in Gran Turismo. It felt like I was in a video game. It was fantastic, and we've stayed friends. Now a couple of them have come and visited here in LA. So there's a lot of very cool stuff that you get to do with sort of the hook of a car connection, and then you become friends with people.
Absolutely true. So many great things in my life are because of a love of cars, and then by extension, meeting so many dear friends. So MoPars like that are the absolute antithesis of Japanese, the Japanese car industry, and just what you see on the street there. So
they looked so big. There were some streets where I was like, we're not going to fit down this street. But people really liked them. We got a lot of positive attention.
that's really cool. What's your automotive sweet spot, by the way? I mean, we talked a little bit about your collection and the MoPar fascination early on, but I guess what I mean is, if you had to pick one thing for the rest of your life, keeping in mind that you've been down the MoPar trail, is there another maybe automotive sweet spot that you would gravitate towards?
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question. If I was trying to make my collection make sense, it's really about cars that kind of have a standout personality all by themselves. Like if you didn't know about cars, you would still look at an Opel GT or a Jensen or a 2000s Bentley and say like, oh, that car's got a personality, like what a cute car or what a elegant car. And I like it when there's a little bit of mystery about them. Like, what is that? So I don't know how that could be one car.
It doesn't have to be one car necessarily, but just like, would you think 70s German cars, or like those bulletproof Mercedes Benzes, or would it be like, I want to go even farther back and kind of get into the hot rod scene?
Oh gosh. I mean, I want something from every possibility, I mean, it's like, I love our 1915 Dodge touring car. Like, it's so cool to drive a car that's that old on wood wheels, but I don't want an entire garage of pre-war cars. I think they're all interesting. It's not that I think it would get boring. It's just there's stuff you can do with them, but not everything, And so if I wanted to do like a Angeles Crest drive, that is not the car I would choose to do it in.
This is the correct answer to the question, by the way, because there's just too many different experiences and settings where you have to have a variety, right? And by the way, I've done Angeles Crest in my Model A. This was the Pasadena Roadster Club run.
Yeah, they are bold.
They are. And most of those guys are running 5-head V8s and stuff, and I'm just running a 4-banger, so but that's a challenging road in those cars.
Yeah, I just don't know how I would get down, to be honest. Like even if it went up all of the grades, I just wouldn't trust the brakes to get me down. I mean, I've done it in the 81 Trans Am, and even those brakes get hot. So, yeah, I would like to maybe try it one time, but in terms of being like casually, oh, let's go do like a fun morning run, or like let's run up to Mount Wilson and have coffee overlooking the world. That's not the car that I would pick for that. So or like, all right, if you were going to force me, you're like, I don't have a choice. I've got to pick one kind of vehicle, and that's it. I'd probably go with some sort of smaller pickup truck, like 70s or 80s era pickup truck, because you can build them to handle pretty well now. There's a lot of accessories for them. I think they look great, stylishly. You can kind of never go wrong with a pickup. And you can be any kind of person in a pickup truck. It doesn't necessarily lock in who you are, which I think is important about a car. It's, you kind of wear it like an outfit, and so people can make a lot of assumptions about you from what you're driving. In a pickup, you can't really guess what someone's like from owning a pickup truck. And then also they are legitimately useful. So,
that's a good choice. And I'm thinking like a Ford Courier.
No,
Those are kind of cool.
those are cool. I had a Datsun 620 for a while, which was, I mean, mine wasn't nice, but you could have made one nice.
Those are cool. Stout.
The stouts are so cute. Yeah.
They still have that quirky Japanese styling. They're not as Americanized, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. I mean, even like a 90s Ford Ranger or something like that, I feel like you can get a lot done in a truck that size.
Pickup trucks are super fun. And you're right, they sort of are classless. You could be Ralph Lauren in a pickup truck. You could be
Johnny Cash. Yeah.
in a pickup truck. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can do a lot of adjustments for the kind of driving that you want to do. I mean, you're not really going to have a wheel and tire clearance problem. So if you want some low pro sticky tires, you could do that, or you could get some light knobbies and have it do some off-roading. So I think that is a good choice for someone who is not quite sure yet where they want their collection to go.
All right, so probably the diametric opposite of these pickup trucks we're talking about is this Bentley series.
Oh, my Bentley.
So I'm very curious about the whole story behind it.
All right. Okay. So the Bentley was very much one of the cars that was real whim. And again, like, this is the problem when both you and your partner are like, let's just do it. This summer, I'd been driving the Jensen, which does not have working air conditioning. And I got home and I was like, it sucked, man. I'm so hot. Like, the traffic was bad. My clutch leg hurts. Like, I'm so sweaty. I feel like I'm going to pass out. I need a car with air conditioning. And Tom's like, all right, well, like, get like a Crown Vic or something like that. I was like, I don't want a Crown Vic. No offense, like, to any Crown Vic owners, that is a great car. And in hindsight, I should have just got a Crown Vic. But I was like, no, I want something more interesting than that. And we're looking, and we're like, man, 20-year-old luxury cars are really cheap. Because I was looking at, I was like, well, maybe like a older Cadillac V or something. Those are awesome, super expensive, crashed like 20 times, all the used ones. Yeah, SRT8, same deal, right? Like, all the cars that I was thinking about finding amusing to drive, just a bad idea.
Ford era Aston Martins.
Yeah, well, that would be the same, vibe as this,
Closer to the Bentley.
Yeah. So anyway, there was a Bentley. It was in our neighborhood. It was within this price range that we were joking about. And so this was on a Thursday. We bought it on a Saturday morning. In hindsight, I should have done a little more, just a little more test driving of it. Because we kind of took it around the block and we're like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. And on the way home, I'm like, oh, interesting. The left turn signal doesn't work. And I was like, well, maybe it's just a bulb. It's not a bulb. It's like there's something, I think, in the big switch, and like, oh, the rear windows don't roll down and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, it's fine. And I did have a fabulous month in it. The air conditioning to this moment, ice cold, so cold that the metal grates, like the vents, they ice up like a beer glass. Like, it's fantastic. The seats are fantastic. It looks awesome. I mean, when I was driving it, like we'd go run an errand or something and people would like turn their heads. They don't know that it's not a new Bentley. I mean, obviously anybody who knows Bentleys would know, but it looks baller. Anyway, now it's broken. So we'll see if I can fix it. It's complicated to work on those cars. Everyone thinks they shouldn't do it because the parts are expensive and unavailable. And it's not really that they're unavailable. I mean, there are definitely some that aren't. And they are expensive, but not, I mean, compared to a new car, I have a friend who just spent 17 grand fixing a busted, front suspension part. So like they're not that expensive. But the problem is that there's no real support information, like no data. Like you can't buy a wiring diagram for a 2002 Arnage. You can't buy a DIY manual, and you can't even really get very reliable information from the internet because there aren't very many people working on them. So there's like 250 of the T in the US, and I don't have access to all of those folks to ask them how they fixed this or that problem. Yeah, I have made some friends with other Arnages. They all have a different problem, though, so they haven't really been able to help us fix our problem, but they have been very sympathetic.
And the problems are usually serious, right? It's not some little thing.
The problems are probably some little thing, only I don't know how to find them because we don't have a Bentley scan tool. Tom was able to track down one problem we were having, which was a burnt up alarm module that was in the wheel well. And we were able to fix that. And that was very satisfying. But the current problem, I believe, is in the ECU. But we might be able to fix it. And if we do, I'm going to feel so proud of us.
Did you tell me earlier you have some help from NASA?
Well, Tom's nephew works for NASA, and he does this kind of, complicated computer, electrical programming or engineering. And so, yeah, so he's giving it a try for us because we think we know what it is. Like, it's just, I don't have the tools or the skill set to take a computer apart and replace a diode or whatever's in them. So we'll see.
That's what's good about all your analog MoPars. The fix is straightforward, even if maybe it's hard to get your brake calipers rebuilt on your 1969 Imperial or whatever.
Yeah, the Imperial is a really great example, though, because it is almost the same car as the Arnage. It's a V8 luxury car, 4-door. Actually, is it a 2-door? It might be a 2-door. Anyway, it's a massive car with a ton of options. I mean, that thing has power wing windows. They're the coolest option I have ever seen. And almost all of them work on that car, which is, 50 plus years old. So, and what doesn't work, we can fix. So
By the way, did I get the year right? 16?
it's actually a 67, I believe. No, I'm sure it's a 67. You only saw the undercarriage, so I'm impressed that you got anywhere that close.
It's up on the left in your shop. And speaking of which, how nice is it to have a big shop building on I mean, for what you guys do, there's no other way. I'm jealous.
I mean, our shop is large, and it is not large enough. I wish it was even bigger, but yeah, I feel very spoiled. I mean, and I did my time. I have done leaf springs lying in the dirt, lifting them up with my legs to get them in position and, shouting at somebody else to get the bolt in while you're holding them. So it is an absolute luxury to have a lift and to have a shop and to be able to work in there on things. And we didn't go around the corner, but we do have a lathe and a mill, so we're able to machine some parts as well, which is again very helpful.
And the shop is a big steel building with high ceilings. Your lift goes to the moon.
Well, you got to when you need to lift up a Dodge dually truck.
Right. Okay. So we're kind of working our way through the collection here. The dually, I think, might be my favorite vehicle in the collection. It's low. It's not lifted.
All right. Okay. Let's paint the picture of this truck. So it is a 78 crew cab Dodge dually. They were still called Dodges then, not Rams. And so it is a big truck, like a big square body truck. I think it's an Adventurer. It is at stock height. So yeah, it seems low by modern truck standards. And it is bright yellow. And it has a custom paint job that runs stripes all down the side in red and yellow and green and white. Then it has a custom painted hood that's sort of a not really a tribal, but like a graphic gradient of those same colors. And then on the very back, it has a little tiny mural of somebody water skiing behind a boat, because the guy that we bought it from was a boat racer. And so he used to tow his boat with it, which I assume was painted to match the truck. And it is a real head turner.
Yeah, and that's what I love is that it's got that like really direct custom paint job, the stripes and everything. And it's clearly a good work truck. It can do a lot of work. It can tow, it can carry all your friends and gear in the back and all of that. It's such a classic look. I mean, if people have seen powerboating magazine covers from the late 70s, early 80s, it's like perfect.
Yeah, it's a real crossover kind of vehicle in that it is a 70s body, but it has such an early 80s paint job on it. I mean, it's just a time capsule. It's very, very cool. And it's also extremely comfortable. I mean, Tom and I have done some real road trips in it. And we did a 12-valve Cummins swap on it, so that thing will run forever, and it'll pull a building off of the ground if you wanted it to. It was I think it was a 440 when we first got it, or 400. I think a 440. That's a long time ago. Yeah, it's we're big Cummins 12-valve fans, so I think it's a good engine. The dogs always know when Tom is coming home because he drives a 93 Cummins turbo diesel, so we can hear him down the block.
Cummins 12-valves sound amazing. Detroit diesel series 71.
It's very specific, but yes, a Detroit diesel. Tom's been looking at I forgot whether it was a fire truck. There was something he was looking at that had a Detroit diesel in it, and he was very excited about it.
It sounds so good, and like when it's spooled up, oh man, I love it.
Do you think we should buy a fire truck? I feel like it's a little bit of cosplay, but he's very excited about the idea.
I don't know. I mean, the era is. Personally, when I'm thinking about fire trucks, I'm thinking about the American France, like 800 series from the 1950s. Those were the first like snub nose, like cab over design. It's either that or Mac Model B, which is a conventional cab again, late 40s, early 50s. Those are amazing. Anything past about 1960, I don't care.
You're not into. What about a really early one? I think there's a like 20s or teens one for sale in the valley right now.
So for those, Eric Fox made the Rolls-Royce or Cadillac or whatever happened of fire engines where their pumps were mounted on the front, and there's this giant nickel-plated sphere.
Yeah.
So those were really good good engineering reason for that is because those were piston-powered pumps. So that sphere basically maintains a certain pressure. If you don't have that sphere that's maintaining that pressure, the hose lines will just squirt. It won't be a constant stream. So that's my other way to do it that way. Those are amazing, pretty rare, very collectible. Let's see. I mean, early Seagraves, early American LaFrance chassis from the 20s and 30s, they're incredible. A lot of them are chain drive. And you'll see a lot of those converted into sort of these wacky pseudo-vintage race cars.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like that chassis gets used a lot for kind of, I don't know, I call them monster hot rods, like oversized hot rods.
Yeah, they're like, they have the same aesthetic as that movie, The Great Race.
Yes. Yeah. Or that famous race car in Europe, the Beast.
Yeah, yes, Don't Get Pitaways, Beast of Touring.
Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of them do get converted like that. But anyway, there's certain areas of fire truck like that are really cool, and otherwise I don't care.
All right. I'll keep it in mind.
But Tom needs to do Tom. Even if he, well, the other thing too.
No, don't encourage him. I think we have too many trucks. They take so much room. Like, I could fit multiple, Fiat X19s in the space that one big truck takes.
Yeah, that's true. And you'll never unload them for what you have into them. Like, it's impossible to sell them. Anyway.
I'm sorry I derailed us on fire trucks. No. He'd love it. You should leave it in.
On a completely different subject, you have a real love of drag racing. Where did that come into the picture?
Oh, the drag racing came before any of the other car stuff. The racing in general, I think, actually kickstarted the interest in mechanical anythings. I was living in Hollywood, and my neighbor Damien was interested in racing, and he had cable. I think all the races were on cable. Anyway, I would go over to his house on Sunday, and we would start in the morning. We would get donuts, and we would watch the NASCAR race, and then we would order pizza and watch the NHRA races. And he was the first person to take me to Pomona, and we went to the NHRA race, and I was like, what? This is the most visceral, exciting thing I have ever done in my whole life. And so for a while I would go, twice a year. They had races twice a year. And when I met Tom, he was actually racing at a local drag strip. And so we started going together. And for a while we were racing probably twice a week out in Palmdale in whatever we were working on at the time. And when the track closed and I got, more of a grown-up job, it's like now I was always at the track, but for work. And so I haven't been racing so much, but it was a really great experience and something that I very much recommend if anybody lives near a drag strip to go regularly just on a test and tune night or a grudge night and get out there and run, because it's so much fun.
But you've been able to immerse yourself in drag racing history, and that resulted in a book project with Don the Snake Prudhomme.
Yes, that was very amazing. That was sort of at the tail end of freelance. I was asked by a publishing company, Cartech, if I would take on the project of working with Don Prudhomme to write a book. And I was obviously very pleased about that. It didn't come totally out of the blue. He and I had done some really great stories together while I was at Hot Rod and sort of developed a friendship. He was restoring the Hot Wheels trucks at the time, and so he was very pleased that Tom and I were interested in them. And then when we bought the Dick Landy ramp truck, which we actually haven't talked about, although I have sort of joked about it, which is a large ramp truck, former drag racing hauler that we're restoring. When we bought that, Prudhomme was excited about it, and he came over, and so basically we'd already developed a relationship. And when Cartech asked him to do a book, he said yes and suggested me as the writer, which is incredible. And it was really great. It took us about a year and a half. I would go down maybe every other week to San Diego area, and we'd go through photos and talk about racing and talk about his life. And it was, it just like kind of doesn't even seem real when I think about it now. I was so lucky to get to do it.
Being around a lot of these retired racing drivers it's not silly. It is their life. But when you hear them telling the story, like the hair on the back of your neck,
Yeah.
you get this rush from just like being, hey, this is the guy, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it is amazing. In this job, I've had the chance to meet so many people who previously I had only seen on TV or had only seen in old, YouTube footage from like Wide World of Sports or something like that. And to get to meet folks and have them be real people who, A, will tell you the famous stories, but B, even better, will maybe tell you some of the unheard stories or the stories behind the scenes. I really like to know how people balanced their families and what challenges they had or how their families supported them through their careers, because I think that stuff gets sort of written out a lot and is, both important to know and also useful if you are attempting some big thing to kind of see where maybe the pitfalls might be in your personal life and avoid them.
Yeah, definitely, because we all see this show, right? The race, in terms of like this historical stuff, we all know how the story ends, we know who won, but delving into that with these guys like Prudhomme or a guy like Jim Dusby, who I interviewed recently, you really get a sense of just the day-to-day that they had to deal with and the uncertainty and like the reality of putting food on the table and keeping a business running, the business of racing. It's fascinating, and there's just there's so much more to it. And also, they race at a really dangerous rate.
Yeah, I know. None of them ever really, I think they just didn't acknowledge it to themselves that it was super dangerous. Because I think if you think about it too much, you can't do it. I mean, I know that I will never be more than an okay performance driver because I think about it all the time, what could happen and how much I don't want it to happen. And it definitely slows me down way before, a competitive driver would get off the gas. But I think all of those folks are they were all very brave, both physically brave and also a lot of times just taking a leap to do this thing as a job that nobody, in most cases, was encouraging them to do. A lot of them had to kind of work against their parents to be able to do it, or work against their teachers or whoever was saying like that's not a real job. And they had to get through slumps too. We as fans, we can be so casual about a slump, that a driver is going through, but you imagine having a winless year, which is very common, multiple winless years for a lot of these folks. And you imagine every day getting up and going to your job and not doing well at it and being able to keep doing it. I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing to think about.
Whether it's the car or whether it's the support that like maybe that is lacking in certain teams that just don't have enough money to keep the car going. Even if the car is, sound and well designed from the start, there's all sorts of obstacles that the path to a number one, a victory, there's so many unforeseen problems. And you could be the best driver and still not make the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's, you could just hit some bad luck and you could hit it over and over again. But the folks who become champions, they somehow work through that and keep going, where I think most of us would move on to something else.
Definitely. I'm just looking at my list here. There's something on my mind. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you about. By the way, have you had any professional driving instruction like track
Yeah, I have. I've done a couple of different courses. I've done the Radford Racing School. I also went there when it was Bondurant. And sometimes on press trips, if we have track time, there'll be an instructor for that. One of the ones that I did here in California that I very much recommend and had so much fun at was the VARA Racing School, which is the, let's see if I can, it's Vintage American Racing Association or Vintage Auto Racing. Yeah, that's right, because you don't have to have an American car. But they do a school in the spring or maybe in the winter even. But it's so fun because it's just a really nice group of people, and because a lot of the cars are vintage, the pace is a little bit, I mean, not slower in the advanced ones, but it is a little more forgiving if you're, not ready to go all out. And the teachers are very good. So I very much recommend it. It was also a good deal. Yeah, very nice. And an Opel racer. So.
What's your favorite track that you've driven so far?
I think probably Laguna is the most thrilling track of any of the tracks that I have been on. It's hard. I also actually really like Sonoma. Yeah, I think Sonoma kind of gets like a bad rep or just like ignored because it's there. It doesn't have like amazing landscape or whatever, but it is really fun. It has these like little like humps kind of, and you have to line yourself up on the first one, and then you end up perfect for the turn at the end of the second one. And it is really fun when you get it right.
I love that track, and I love the paddock there. A little bit a lot smaller than Laguna. It's really more walkable, and it's like kind of all in one spot and really neat. They're both great. What about Willow Springs? I think obviously we've had some new management. Willow Springs under new management. They've got big plans. What do you think about that?
Well, I love Willow Springs as a location. I really enjoy going there. I don't personally like driving Willow Springs. I think it's scary. But it might be a little less scary if they do some of the improvements that they're talking about. But it's an incredible place to be. The history of it's amazing. I hope that it remains accessible to people, but I would rather have it exist even in a semi-private way than have it be developed. And so sometimes that's the compromise you have to make.
I think that's the big concern about motorsport going public is will it remain accessible? And also for club racers, people who want to get track time, are they going to be able to afford it?
Yeah. I mean, it was so rare. It was such an amazing place. You could get a membership there and then just swing by and like play on their little drift track without even like, paying more. You just like pop in. And back when I was filming a lot, you could rent one of their tracks so cheap. And there's no way that that's going to still be available. I mean, I don't think they were making money off of it. And, these days you got to make some money, especially to pay the insurance that a track's going to require. But hopefully, I mean, they're good folks who are involved with it. They're not non-car people, I mean, singers involved with it. It should be people who want to keep it a part of the community. So hopefully they will still run some deals for local track days and club races and stuff. Because, yeah, like you said, that's the first place I ever went to a track day, on the streets of Willow.
I'm optimistic that it's going to remain accessible and not exclusive. So.
Yeah.
But contrast with Thermal Club,
I have driven Thermal. I am loath to talk poorly about any track because I want there to be as many tracks as possible. I think the actual racetrack at Thermal is a little dull. It's very flat, and it's visually difficult because it has so many configurations and it's so flat that you're like, am I supposed to turn here? Like, oh no, wait, that's the next one. I haven't driven it a ton of times. I'm sure if I was there regularly, I would, be better at it. And I think they were going to redo the Riverside S's, which I think is a very cool idea. So I think they finished that track and I haven't been on that section.
We all have a good purpose. At the end of the day, you're right. Like, we need to keep what we have and not lose any more tracks. But unfortunately, that is the story of Southern California, right? We've lost so many good motorsport venues over the years.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not even just in Southern California. I mean, it's all over the country. I think it might even be all over the world. It's, property is expensive, insurance is expensive. There are fewer people who want to do this as a hobby. And so, the whole local pop over to your local circle track or your local drag strip and make a run thing is just not as available as it once was. But I do really feel like supporting that when you can is important. So when I travel, if there's a track that I can go to a race at, like pay my little entry fee and go watch a local dirt track race or something, I try to do that. If there's a story that involves a track that I can bring some attention to, I always, I look for those things. And I think they are a sign of a healthy community when you have a lot of different available activities for people to do.
You know what's crazy is the board track there.
Oh my God.
It's so brief. They were all over the country. They sprung up overnight and they were gone so quickly. But these were the first speedways, right? And banking, of course, and super dangerous and really cool.
Unbelievable. Like I can't even picture someone being like, yeah, we should keep doing this. They would be like hammering boards back in underneath the track as the cars are racing over them, knocking the boards out. I mean, people would get killed via splinters. It was so wild. Like if I could go back in time though, and see something, I would love to see a board track race.
Yeah, I mean, the only crazy throwing early circuits that I think compare would be like Brooklyn's, Monza, Vegas, because they don't have banking.
Yeah.
But yeah, the board tracks were so cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this is a whole topic on its own, and I'm sure you could meet up with some experts to talk about it. But modern racetrack design is very different than the older ones, and when you get the chance to either see a race or to drive on one of the older tracks, they're so unpredictable. A lot of times they were based off of previous streets, or they were a Air Force base, so it was just the roads, the access roads to the Air Force base, and they just follow like the natural terrain, and they are much more dangerous and much less predictable, but they have a kind of beauty to them that the modern tracks with their engineered flow just really don't compare to.
There's no way that Le Mans would be built today.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even when they do street circuits now, they're very controlled. You're not going to be going past somebody's house.
Elana, what have been some of your favorite car travels, either on or off assignment?
I have a massive list of fabulous things that I've done, and if I list them all, it's just going to sound like absolute bragging. Let's see. I love going to Bonneville. So every time that I've had a chance to go to the land speed races, that's been incredible. The trip that I was telling you about to Tokyo, where I got to ride with the muscle car guys, was like a dream. And I really enjoyed that. I did an ice racing school with Maserati in the Italian Alps, which was, I mean, the driving part was fun, but really the part that was the most incredible was I was staying in this little castle-y hotel up on the top floor, and I like opened these little shutter windows and just like looked out over this snowy mountain landscape with like a little church and the sunlight coming through, and I was like, how is this my job? So good. I really liked when I was at Roadkill and at Hot Rod doing the Hot Rod Power Tour and the Drag Week events where you got to kind of go on a big road trip with a bunch of people and do all the small towns and small roads in between the big cities across America's great country, man. Worth seeing.
So much to see. And back roads too. Like you have to get off interstate.
It is so worth it. And like stopping in at restaurants that aren't chain restaurants and talking to people, it's a real joy. You can just be surprised every moment by what other people have done with their lives. I remember I once was in Atlanta, maybe Georgia. Anyway, I was off some small town and I pulled into, it was the Moonshine Museum. And I was talking to the guy there, and he had, he's like overalls and a big beard, not a ton of teeth. And we were talking about his previous job, and he was coming back to NASA. He'd worked on like the Atlas rockets, like down in in Huntsville, and had like seen like the launches and stuff. Like total surprise, super smart guy. You can never assume anything about someone. And then like we've been together, like Baja. I will never turn down a chance to do car stuff down in Mexico. It's a fabulous country.
I'm going to table that for a second.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I have to ask you, what is the best everyday enthusiast car on the market? Because obviously car drivers, you guys are covering the car market right now. And car drivers has always been an enthusiast magazine.
All right. This is a very good question. I feel like I need to answer it on a couple of different budget levels because the answer is very different depending on who's listening and where they are in their financial life. I think that kind of on the entry levels, and all cars are so expensive that it is painful to me to say that entry level is in the $30,000 to $40,000 range, but that is the reality of the new car market. So in that range, I would say the Miata and the like BRZ. I think those are very fun cars. You can learn to drive very well in them. They're available with manuals. They look good. A little bit higher up, maybe like a Civic Type R, also fantastic car. And then still under 100,000, still like a driver's car. I really like the M2. I think it kind of got a bad rep. It was sort of funny looking, but it grew on me. And now when I've driven them, I think they're really cute. They're distinctive. I think it's the best looking of the BMWs. And again, available with a manual, available with an automatic, a very quick car, and still within the affordable range. And then once you go basically to about 100, Porsche. I mean, I'm not a Porsche person, but yeah, a Cayman, pretty unbeatable car.
I like that you said it's from day one, Miata has been what it still is. Like they've managed to not ruin it. And that's great.
Yeah, I feel like Miata has, with a few like maybe minor bobbles along its development, has always gotten a little bit better. And I think the current one is so pretty, and it's also a much more powerful car with some of the modern technology that makes life easier, like backup cameras and screens and stuff, but not too much screens. And then I guess if you want to go on like a totally different path, maybe like Bronco, and sort of the off-road SUV options they handle so much better than anything that was off-road capable did in the past. And so you can still enjoy driving it as a daily and running all your errands. But then if you want to explore some of the non-paved world, they are very, very capable. I like it too. It's expensive, but I really like it.
Now that Toyota they can get that money. Everybody loves them.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that resurrected Scout.
We all are. Yeah. I have seen the prototype ones, and it looks great.
I know a lot of people are using their Rivians off-road. Good reports. I hear a lot of positive stuff about them.
Yeah, everyone I know who has a Rivian really likes it. I think they look great. They drive well. They are a very easy electric to use.
I mean, I guess maybe it is apples to oranges to say Forerunner and then a minute later say Rivian.
Well, I mean, they do the same thing. It's really just the fuel source that's different.
Right. And I love this Rivian R3 concept.
Oh, the little one.
Yeah, the little one that basically looks like a on steroids. Really cool.
Yeah. I'm hoping, talking about trends, that these little trucky trends continue, because I think, as we talked about earlier, that small trucks are a fantastic way to do car stuff. And at the moment, trucks are very large and very expensive, and that keeps a lot of people out of them, and it's wasted in a lot of cases.
I think Ford's doing pretty well with the Maverick.
Yeah, and the Maverick's great.
And I'm interested in the Slate, which is kind of a different business model in terms of, like, if you want a bare bones one, it's going to be really cheap. But nobody's going to order like that because you really need a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine really any modern car owner being okay without a radio and roll-up windows. But, who knows? Maybe people will surprise me. Maybe there'll be a resurgence of the stripper car.
I would not be opposed to crank windows. Yes, electric windows are great, and we're all used to them, but that's something that I wouldn't mind doing, especially when you reach across the cabin and roll up the passenger side if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, almost everything that I own is the majority. The majority is still crank windows. And, every once in a while you get on the freeway and you realize your passenger side's down. You're like, man. But, it doesn't happen that often.
It's funny when I vintage cars, like, windows aren't really a thing. Like, my Land Rovers, the windows slide open, right? Because they only open half it. They only open half the window. And then the Model A doesn't have windows, and the Alpha, the windows never go up because I almost never put the top up. So
Yeah, well then, you definitely don't need any power windows. I do think it's really fun when you're taking someone who's younger in an older car. Like I take my neighbor's kid out for little adventures sometimes, and one time she was standing outside. We have a Ram Charger, and she was standing outside on the passenger side, and was like, "You can get in, it's unlocked." And she's like, "I don't know how to use this door handle." It's just like the old school classic, like chrome handle with the push button for your thumb. She'd never used one before.
yeah, it's like kids not knowing how to operate a rotary phone. It's the same thing. Right?
Yeah, and but I'm not making fun of them because at the same time, sometimes I'll have like a Tesla or something like that, and you get somebody our age or older in it, and they're like, "I don't know how to use this door handle." This like inset.
No, I have those modern technological obstacles in my way all the time, I feel like. Remote controls are a mystery to me, for TV. My kids are always making fun of me because they're like, "Dad, why are you typing in the search? Just talk to the remote." Do it. And I forget, because we get into, we fall into habit, right? Okay, coolest Melee's era car.
How strict are you being with Melee's era?
I will go 69 to 85.
Oh wow, that's generous. All right, I am going to cut it down to like 75 to 85 because I feel like, obviously I'm not going to pick like a 71 CUDA. That's crazy. You were too generous. Let's see. Because of my own personal love for it and ownership of one, I'm going to go with the 81 Turbo Trans Am. Maybe that's cheating. That's cheating. I mean, really, it's probably like, I don't know, like a whale tail 911 or something like that. But no, I love me that Trans Am. It is a silly bit of engineering, and it is so interesting, and it is a real ahead of its time car. They didn't do it super well, but eventually everything became a smaller engine with a turbo on it, and so they were really ahead.
They were. It's true. And I should have specified I was talking about American cars.
Yeah.
Yes, the wheel tail, turbo, of course. But to me, mid-70s Lincolns.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Because I love the grills. They're plush. They got ride. And they're coming up.
That's an amazing choice. And really it's probably a better choice than the Trans Am, because I think they are genuinely pretty good cars. I mean, as long as you don't mind the mileage. And I also like the ones that are a little bit later than that, when they did all of the designer models, you know? Yeah. I think there was a Gucci one. Yeah. Givenchy. Yeah, those are amazing. And there's a emerald green, I think it's late 70s. It might have been Givenchy. I don't remember which designer it was, but if I could ever find one of those, I mean, I can't even describe to you the color of this car. It's like a gemstone of green velvet. It's perfect. It is a perfect automobile, and I would like to own one. That is a great way that is a correct picture. It is like, if you could imagine a car in the Emerald City, this is what it would look like, and I love it.
There's one up there.
I know. I think so. Yeah, hit me up. It sure is.
Which is perfect. Let's talk a little bit about Baja and your article, which is coming out shortly. We're really looking forward to it. You said earlier that the difficult part is shortening it, but maintaining the meaning and capturing the essence of what the trip is about. So
yeah, well, so I mean, if I tell you all of the things, or I mean, but I had there's so many paths to take in telling that story. I mean, there was just what we did, which was a great road trip with very nice people. There are all of the people on the road trips stories, that are deserving of, each being commemorated themselves with the details of their cars. And then there's the car that I was in, which was the Ineos Grenadier Quartermaster, which is really interesting and surprised us all. And I was really pleased that everybody liked it. When I was first driving down there in a new truck, I was worried that, oh no, I'm not gonna fit in, or they're gonna resent me for bringing this new truck. And then of course, our guest of honor, Sal Fish, who told me so many great stories from the development of the Baja 1000, and he literally created it with Mickey Thompson. So I've got to sort of fit all of those magical elements in. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do it yet.
Well, especially since you had more time with Sal than anyone else. You guys were in the same vehicle, and he can talk it. And all the stories are awesome.
They were so good. Towards the later half of the trip, I finally got smart and started just hitting record on my phone when he started telling a story, because the problem with hearing a story in a car is that you can't really write your notes. And so it's like, if we stopped and there was time, I would quickly try and write a story down. But sometimes he has these great turns of phrase, and I really wanted to capture them. So we'll see. I'm still sort of organizing how I'm gonna lay things out. But it was an incredible experience, and I'm gonna try and capture it.
I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. And above and beyond the Baja Tales, what's your What's your next assignment? What's your next story idea? Can you share?
Sure. You know, it's the beginning of the year, so there's a lot of new car news. So we'll be, and then because the weather is really bad in Michigan, we do a lot of reviews here in California. So I'll be pretty busy with new car reviews. I've got some drives going on. I think there's actually a 2026 Ineos drive, so I'll get to see the new model. And then at the end of this month, this isn't for work, I'm just going to drive up to San Francisco and I'm going to hang out with my sister and brother. So I need to pick a good car for that road trip.
So is that going to come out of the car and driver plus fleet? Or?
I think so. I could take one of my cars. The Trans Am would be a lovely vehicle to spend some time in. But if it's a car and driver car, then I can kind of make it work, and then, somebody else will pay for the gas. Yeah, exactly. Also, nothing that I have other than the Ram Charger is really good for multiple people. I kind of have a lot of, if they're not actually two-seaters, they're functionally two-seaters. And since I'm going to pick up my sister and my brother, it would be nice to have something with a little more space. It does not have T-tops, but it does still leak. Maybe I'll have the Bentley Arnage fixed by the end of the month, in which case I'll take that up.
Well, listen, if you ever want to take a road trip together, I am game. I will ride shotgun, whatever you need.
Absolutely. We should just plan one.
Let's do it. Guys, Elana Scherr, senior editor, features at Car and Driver magazine. You can contact with her on Instagram at Elana Scherr. And, of course, carandriver.com. And subscribe to the magazine. Magazines are worth it.
Support print.
Absolutely. Elana, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming over and for petting my dogs and for talking about cars.
That's all for this episode of Horsepower Heritage. If you enjoyed the show, visit buymeacoffee.com/HP Heritage and become a patron. Also, check out my appearance on another podcast, That Car Show, with my pals Ryan Barkey and Lindsay Jesh. We did that a few weeks ago. Just check the links in the show notes for all of this stuff. It's all there for you. And until next time, I'm Maurice Merrick. Thanks for listening.